held it. It was, and Israel, with the help of Ronald Reagan and the Americans and everyone, had actually managed to hold election in Lebanon, to steer in the Lebanese policy, and to make a pro-Israeli president that would even sign peace agreement with Israel, a Christian president. They actually managed to do that, but it lasted something like 2 days, because 2 days after the election happens what's still happening to presidents who get elected in Lebanon and the Syrian doesn't really like. The man was called Bashir Jumayel. He was exploded. A car bomb went on his convoy, and and Israel found herself without any ally in Lebanon, stuck in Beirut. And Israel took control of most of Beirut. Israel conquered, and it was the first time that Israel actually conquered foreign countries' capital. Like Israeli artilleries were all around, and Israel controlled few neighborhoods in Beirut. And what happened there is that Israel had an alliance with the local Lebanese militia, which Israel controlled the perimeter, and in Lebanon it's all alliances and revenges. And the Christians had big fight through the years with the Palestinians, and they started to close a business, and years-old business with the Palestinian refugee camps. And probably you heard the name of the refugee camps, Sabra and Shatila, in southern Beirut, the big massacre of Sabra and Shatila. Israeli army were taking position around Beirut, and the Lebanese Christian militia went into the Palestinian refugee camp to close businesses with the local Palestinian refugees. The Palestinian militias inside, and it became bloody. And close to 1,000 people had been massacred inside these refugees camp. And Israel stood in the side and knew or not knew, but everyone blamed Israel because Israel controlled Beirut at the time, and that pushed a national inquiry committee, and it pushed away Ariel Sharon for political exile for many years, and it led to the resignment of Prime Minister Begin and everything, and it led and Israel after it happened had to leave Beirut with its tail on the back. And meanwhile, because of our stupid alliance with the Christian, we kind of released a genie from a bottle, because the Shiite majority in Lebanon was then kind of neutral. It wasn't really against Israel, but when we made an alliance with the Christians, which then fought against the Shiites, automatically we became the Shiites' enemy. And the Shiites, there was a new party that's just started back then, which was called the Hezbollah. And after 82, Hezbollah became our most bitter enemy. Israel kind of what Israel did reach in that war in Beirut is to push away the Palestinian from Lebanon, the Palestinian leadership. It pushed Yasser Arafat on a boat, on a ferry to Tunisia. Well, afterwards, we got him back to the West Bank and the main door. After we went all the way to Beirut to push him away, we brought it on the main gates through to the West Bank, to Gaza and Ramallah, and we signed the Oslo agreement with him. But we went all the way to Beirut to kind of try to get rid of him. Anyway, we got ourselves a new enemy in Lebanon, which is called the Shiite majority, the Hezbollah, which gained a lot of strength because of Iran through the years. And Israel started retreating back to the border. For something like almost 20 years, Israel managed to hold a buffer zone. We call it the security zone. That's the international borderline you see here. 10 miles north to it, there was an Israeli control area with an Israeli guided militia. We had our own militia here, which was mainly held by local villagers. Some of them were Shiite, some of them were Druze, some of them were Muslims, Christian, a mosaic of all sorts of locals who had an alliance with Israel. Their families could work in Israel. They were our allied army around here. And with the Israeli army, The idea was to sit here in this buffer zone, 10-mile wide buffer zone, and prevent the terrorists the Hezbollah guerrillas and the Palestinian guerrillas to reach the fence. That's like a living fence. Once you touch it, there's an alarm going on and everything. Once you cut it, patrol runs, and this business held on for something like 20 years. We had a buffer zone. We were sitting right there in these villages and conducting all sorts of ambushes and all sorts of activities over there. It caused, like, we were at the end, towards the last year, most of our action was against the Hezbollah guerrillas, because the Hezbollah are the natives around here. The villagers here are Shiites, and they collaborated with the Hezbollah and everything, and we couldn't trust anyone. I remember me and my platoon, my team, sitting there on the villages, and it scared the shit out of us. We were just a very hostile territory. We would get in once a week or sometimes once a month in a convoy to like a platoon base. Almost like Vietnam. We get a lot of mortar shellings, all sorts of pretty bad crap. And in the year 2000, Israel decided to withdraw unconditionally and protect itself from the international border line. To withdraw here, to leave back the security zone, to leave back our allies in like the militia that backed us over there. Some of them had to leave southern Lebanon for good, and just to leave Lebanon for good because it caused a lot of casualties and we ducks. And anyway, they wouldn't reach the border. Most of their activities were against us. In the year 2000, we withdrew to the international recognized border, and since then, like there was one incident in 2001 of kidnapping soldiers on a patrol here. The body just came back some 2 years ago. Afterward, they kidnapped the convoy, and Hezbollah through the years from the year 2000 till now, it started really building up in these areas, in all these villages. They started building up some kind of a rocket structure that could, long-range rockets that could reach anywhere in the north of Israel. We started building what we call nature reserves. Nature reserves are not like the one we managed to visit in, are all sorts of sets of bunkers and Viet Cong style high-tech tunnels with cameras and stunts and tricks and all sorts of really bad stuff that you can really can't penetrate the area. They were really dug pretty good here, and they waited for some kind for a trigger to attack Israel. That's Hezbollah. And last a year ago, at the beginning of July, not very far away from here. Actually, before that, you see that the big villages there is a big village over there. Just after there is a big. You can't see because the bugger is the grader is kind of cutting the view. But there is a big city over there in it's like the regional city. And Hassan Nasrallah made a speech there something like a year and a half ago, which he kind of he referred to Israel, to the Israeli society, as a society of like a spider nest. He said that Israeli society is like a spider is like a spider nest. We're all like a whole society. Okay. That's how we patrol the border. That's how we patrol the fence. Anyway, the Hezbollah gained a lot of strength along the border.